Hi again then guys, and welcome to another specific homologation special car review, if you want to look at it that way, in the world of Gran Turismo Sport. Yesterday, of course, we discussed the Mustang Group 3 road-going version, the street car, if you will, very reminiscent of the 90s GT1 models and the Group B road-going rally cars of days gone by. Now we're moving on to what I believe, if memory serves, was the first of these road-going versions in the game, in the mileage exchange, the Corvette C7 Group 3 road car. An inspired choice to start with, fantastic looking car. Certainly it's a vehicle which would suit being made in the real world as well. I think there's no question that there are definitely people who would buy it and certainly enjoy it a lot around the track. And so, just like with the Mustang, and pretty much any of the cars in this kind of category, street-going race cars, in effect, as controversial as they are, the question is always, does the combination of both road and race, or in the case of the Impreza or the Evo, road and rally, blend well enough to make the concept work? Well, the fact that it is considered to be an OP vehicle does tend to speak for itself. So, from that point of view, yeah, of course it works. It's highly competitive. A lot of people don't like them because of how fast they are, especially through the corners. But at the same time, that then begs the question of which one should you choose? Are they pretty much all equal, or are they genuinely different? Because, of course, in their racing forms, be it rally car or GT car, they never actually clash, because the rally cars stay in the rally world and the Group 3 cars stay in that world, whereas once they become these street-going variants, they change a lot, because now they can go head-on. You've got rear-wheel drive Mustangs and Corvettes going up against all-wheel drive Evos and Imprezas. Now, for now, we're not going to put them in a head-on battle, but what we are going to do is discuss how good this one is on its own, but then also the implications of the Corvette compared to the others. Now, as far as the car goes on its own, the standard Stingray was already a fantastic car in Gran Turismo 6. I would say it was one of, if not the hero cars of that game. I believe on some of the versions of the game it's even featured on the front of the box, if memory serves, kind of like the Ford GT was in the older Gran Turismo games like GT4. So that was appropriate. The Stingray was a fantastic new addition on Gran Turismo 6. We had a couple of versions of it, including the Test Mule, the GT concept version, which a lot of people loved, and now of course we have the racing one, the Group 3 machine, and this offshoot of that. Now the handling on the road version is exactly what you'd expect from a Corvette, and what I mean by that is a modern Corvette, because since the C5 generation onward, but especially so with the C6 and the C7, they are deceptively good around corners. Because even to this day, despite being proven wrong over and over again, there are still dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of people who love to hate on American cars when it comes to cornering. Now, I'm not saying that American cars are perfect around corners. There are very few cars which are, but the Corvette is one of those American performance cars which is very competitive in both road and racing form. At the Le Mans, they're competitive. The ZR1 and the Z06 in road form is extremely good around the track, not just in a straight line. Of course, in a straight line, they're fantastic, but around corners, they really are good. They can easily rival many Japanese or Italian or various other exotics and sports cars, and more often than not, they'll do it for a lower price. The Corvette C7 Stingray, for instance, was a 51 grand car on Gran Turismo 6. Now, this one, of course, you can't buy. You have to get it from the mileage exchange, so you are buying it in effect, but not with credits. You're buying it with, of course, mileage points, which is an interesting way of buying cars. I kind of wish, to be honest, and they might change this, but I kind of wish that they would allow you to buy cars with mileage points, just in general. Because for me personally, I'm finding that grinding money is becoming a bit boring on Gran Turismo Sport for me, whereas getting mileage points doesn't get boring. That's the weird thing. But maybe that's just me. Now, as far as buying the car and whether or not you should, of course it's gone now from the mileage exchange, but there are many people, myself included, who do believe that it will come back, probably on a rotational basis, like the used car dealership in the older Gran Turismo games. So if it does come up again, and you get the chance to pick one up, should you? Because they're not cheap. They cost a lot of mileage points, about 2.5 grand usually. So what do you actually get? Well, the engine is not told. as far as capacity, you can assume it's similar to the Group 3 race car, and potentially similar in base form to the road car as well. You're looking at just under 500 horsepower, which is incidentally a little bit less than the Mustang starts with. That has 503, this has 493. 488 pound-feet of torque is decent enough, and incidentally a lot more than the Mustang, and the weight is also lower than the Mustang by 20 kilos. It's a 1480 kilo vehicle. Now the horsepower per tonne is still fractionally less than the Mustang, interestingly, because although it is lighter, it does also have 10 horsepower less, which makes it overall work out to 333 horsepower per tonne to the 335, at least in their untouched forms, of the Mustang. Now, as far as track performance goes, in particular, of course, with regard to cornering, the Mustang definitely feels more so like not necessarily a watered-down version of the race car, but more of a variant of that, rather than just a beefed-up road car, because it feels substantially different to the road car, but fairly similar to the race one. So is that the case with the Corvette? Well, to some degree, yes, but funnily enough, I would say that this Corvette is actually a little bit more slippery than the Mustang is in its street form of this Group 3 car, which is ironic, because in road form, there's really no competition. The Corvette is a far better car, and in terms of the racing world, I do prefer the Corvette. It's a sleeker, and I would say more nimble variant of a Group 3 car than the Mustang is. And of course, that's down to personal preference. Some people like the bigger, beefier alternative. In some cases I do. Muscle cars, I like the bigger ones. For race cars though, you usually want it to be relatively small and sleek, and the Corvette has that advantage over the Mustang, aerodynamically in particular. As far as these go though, I would actually give the Mustang the edge in terms of handling, because this Corvette is not bad. Plus, you have to, of course, factor in that I'm using sports softs, whereas with the Mustang I had racing hards. But even so, this is a lot slipperier than, for instance, the Mustang was. Both are, of course, front-engine, rear-wheel drive, so it's a pretty decent comparison to make. They're not direct rivals in road form, but in this form, they are pretty good rivals. And I would be interested to see if there is a road-going version of the Viper, because that will certainly mix in with these other two very well. And so ultimately I would say that this Corvette was definitely worth picking up, so if you do get the chance to pick it up again, I would recommend it. I wouldn't though say that it's necessarily quite as good as the Mustang, funnily enough. I would say it's a better looking car, which is very subjective, but in terms of cornering, I would give the Mustang the edge. But that's it for this pick overall. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.